Chairman Warren,
Present.
Mike Green,
He was present.
Lowell Richardson is no longer with us. Shay Gross,
Present.
Renee Dexler,
Present.
Bob Duell. Is Bob next door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he put his flag up. I see it.
Okay. Joshua Blick,
Present.
Hugh Nix,
Present.
David Foster. He's next door.
You there, David? Can you hear us?
Yep.
Yeah, but he's not. I'll go check on the mics.
Bill Johnson,
Okay, he's here.
he's here. Joe Johnson,
Here.
Cindy Miles. She's here.
She's muted, I think.
Yeah. Rob Hartman,
Present.
Terrell Florence.
Here.
We've got 13 members here.
13 here. Okay, so we are a quorum, working on the bugs on the sound system over in the Board of Directors room, but it looks like we got that taken care of.
Is my mic?
Okay, there, I heard that. Good. Okay, whatever problem we had with sound in the boardroom is taken care of. So with that, I will call the meeting together for the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, Thursday, May 21st, 2020. Are we going to start off with our public announcement, Scott?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, if we're ready, let's have our public announcement, please. It is modified for this meeting.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those at Century 2, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure and planning department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representative to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room or the GoToMeeting comments box. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the commission and the board will be retained by the secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the planning department. The Planning Commission and the board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to district court.
Okay, just from a standpoint of letting people know, this is our first time using this system, so bear with us with a little bit of patience. Also want to let people know if you're in any of the locations here at Century, at the city building or at Century 2, we have live mics there and staff to assist you wherever they are at in those locations, so rely on the staff to help. Would ask that if you're on a remote location that you keep your microphone muted except when you wish to speak, and I'll try to give a little bit of a gap to make sure that we catch everybody that wants to speak, no matter what the venue, whether it be by a phone call coming in, a video connection, or located at Century 2. With that, we will go ahead and get the meeting started. The first part of our business is the approval of the minutes for March the 5th and April the 21st. We are aware of at least one correction. Renee Drexler was at both of those meetings, and that was not reflected on the minutes, so we make sure that we get that correction put into the minutes. Is there a motion on the minutes?
I move for approval of March 5th minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Joe Johnson, second by Mr. Green. Do we have, I don't have those minutes.
Hugh Nix and Josh Blick weren't present.
Hugh Nix and John, okay. If there's no other comments on that, all those in favor, we'll do a roll call vote.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Dexler,
Yes.
Dool, Blick.
Abstain.
Yes.
Did you say abstain?
Yeah, because
He wasn't here.
Okay. Nix,
Yes.
wasn't there either.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good way to check our microphones too, so good. There's a motion, that motion approves unanimously. Is there with one abstention, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion for the April 21st special meeting?
Move we approve.
Second.
I had a motion by Mr. Green, a second by Mr. Hartman. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Warren,
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Foster.
A couple typos on the first page there. On the line for 1.1, to the right side, it says call and emergency meeting. I believe that's and. And then down there at the bottom, under item number 2, it refers to May 212. I believe that's 21.
okay.
Good catch. Okay, if there's no other comments, Dave, continue the vote call.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Dexler,
Yes.
Dool,
Yes.
Blick,
Yes.
Nix,
Yes. He was,
Foster,
Yes?
Bill Johnson,
yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes. Nix and Foster need to abstain. They weren't present.
That's correct. I apologize. I would abstain.
We'll make those corrections. Thank you. Okay. We will now go on and try to determine which items we can take by consent. This will take just a little more time than normal because of our location situation, and we will be listening in to the folks at Century 2 or anybody that is plugged into the meeting, either virtually on their phone or by computer. Is there, under the subdivision committee recommendation, subdivision agenda item 2.1, which is a development addition located on the north side of West 95th Street South and west of South 151st Street. Is there anybody on the commission wish to hear this item? I see none in the chambers. Is there anybody in the boardroom? None in the boardroom. Is there anybody at Century 2 that would like to hear on this, agenda item 2.1?
There's no one here.
No one there. Is there anybody logging in locally that wants to hear this item?
Yes.
Yes, okay, we will hear item 2.1. We will come back to that. Can I determine who wants to hear that item? If you could give us your name. and-
Tyler Fowler.
I'm sorry, Tyler
Fowler.
Fowler. Okay, stay with us because that'll be one of the first items we come back and touch on, so hang on there and we will get that. Okay, next item is agenda item 2.2. A one-step final plat located on the west side of South 279th Street West and West 31st Street South. Anybody on the commission wish to hear that item? No one in the council chambers? Anybody in the boardroom?
No one in the boardroom.
No one in the boardroom. Anybody in Century 2?
No one at Century 2.
Okay, is there anybody listening in from another device wish to speak, have a hearing on this item? Okay, we will take that by consent. Okay, agenda item 2.3, a one-step final plat located on the southeast corner of North 215th Street West and West 37th Street North. Is there anybody on the commission wish to hear that item? No one in council chambers. Anybody in the boardroom?
No one in the boardroom.
Anybody at Century 2?
No one at Century 2.
Anybody on another device? Okay, hearing none, we will take item 2.3 by consent. Agenda item 2.4, one-step final plat located on the northwest corner of East 87th Street South and South 159th Street East. Anybody on the commission wish to hear that item? None in the council chambers. Anybody in the boardroom?
No one in the boardroom.
Anybody at Century 2?
There's no one at Century 2.
Anybody on another device? Hearing none, we will take item 2.4 by consent. Agenda item 2.5, one-step final plat, Wildflower Ranch Edition located south of 263rd Street West and West 6th Street South. Anybody on the commission wish to hear that item? None in the council chambers. Anybody in the boardroom?
No one in the boardroom.
Anybody at Century 2?
No one at Century 2.
Anybody from another device? Hearing none, we will take that by consent.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move by consent items 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Green, a second by Mr. Blick. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, take the roll.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Dexler,
Yes.
Dool,
Yes.
Blick,
Yes.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes.
Passes 13-0.
Okay, we'll move on to public hearing items. We got a number of vacation items. First vacation item is a portion of a utility easement for an in-ground pool on property located or zoned SF5 near North Tyler Road and West 29th Street. Anybody on the commission wish to hear this item? None in the council chambers. Anybody in the boardroom?
No one in the boardroom.
Anybody at Century 2?
No one at Century 2.
Anybody by another device? Seeing none, we will take item 3.1 by consent. Agenda item 3.2, city vacation of a portion of complete access control to permit one drive on property zoned limited industrial near North Greenwich Road and East 29th Street North. Anybody on the commission wish to hear this item? Nobody in the council chambers. Anybody in the boardroom?
No one in the boardroom.
Anybody at Century 2?
No one at Century 2.
Anybody via another device? Hearing none, we will take item 3.2 by consent. Item 3.3, city vacation of a portion of a utility easement located near East 17th Street North and North Mosley Avenue. Anybody on the commission wish to hear that item? See none in council chambers. Anybody in the boardroom?
No one in the boardroom.
Anybody at Century Two?
No one at Century 2.
Anybody via another device? Hearing none, we will take that by consent. Is there a motion on that?
I move for approval for items 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Hartman, a second by Ms. Dexler. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, we got to do roll call.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Dexler,
Yes.
Dool,
Yes.
Lick,
Yes.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson.
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes.
Passes 13-0.
That's 13-0. We will now go on to public hearing items. We already know that we have some speakers, and so we will hear agenda item 4.1, which is a zone change from single-family to two-family to permit construction of a fourplex on properties near McLean Boulevard and West 9th Street. That one we will hear. We will, let's see, item 4.2 has been deferred. Well, this has been deferred from March the 5th, so this one this one, I believe, came with a recommendation of denial, so we will hear that one.
No, that, Mr. Warren, that is not correct.
Okay,
This does not come with a recommendation. This is Philip in the boardroom with staff. That one did not have a recommendation of denial.
okay. I see Mr. Foster's got his flag up. Mr. Foster?
Mr. Chairman, I did have a staff question on item 4.2.
Okay, I'll tell you what, we'll hear that one, although it may be an abbreviated hearing if we don't have much, but we will come back to that one, but we'll plan on hearing that one. Agenda item 4.3, city conditional use permit for ancillary parking, located near North Hillside Avenue and East Second Street. Anybody on the commission wish to hear that item?
Yes.
We will hear item 4.3. Okay. That is the end of the morning agenda, so,
You still need to go back and do
yeah,
item
that's
2.1.
the end of that for consent. I misspoke. We got several things to hear.
Yeah. We still need to do item 2.1.
Yeah, let's go back to 2.1. Who's got that item?
Straw planning staff, item 2.1 is the L&B Development Edition. This is located on the north side of 95th Street South, west of 151st Street West in the county. Encompasses 2 lots, zoning RR, rural residential. We will need our standard approval memo from MAPC regarding approval of on-site sewage facilities. The plat is within the rural water district and connection is recommended if available. The drainage plan has been approved by County Public Works, requesting the floodway reserve easement be denoted as a floodway reserve. Access controls have been approved. One joint opening along 95th Street South is denoted on the plat. Standard approval comment from County Fire regarding the need to comply with the Service Drive Code. And this plat was recommended to be approved by the subdivision committee on March 12th. Any questions for staff?
Any questions for staff? I have no questions from the council chamber. Is there any questions in the boardroom? Not hearing anything, so I'm assuming not. agent or applicant, are you online? We're looking here, this would be, Logan Miles or Mills? Okay, not hearing anything there. Mr. Fowler, are you still online?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we will give you 3 minutes. Are you on by phone or are you logged in on a, what do we got here, staff?
I'm here on the PC here.
Okay, do you have it helps us if we can see who's talking. It's not necessary, but it's a nice thing to have. If,
I do have my camera on.
okay,
I see.
let us see what we can do here to, because I'm not seeing it, but okay, here we go.
There he is.
There you are, okay, now I've got
That's
you.
Logan.
Okay, you have 3 minutes and fire away.
So I've been at this location for 8 or 9 years now, and I was really, really excited to make it into the historic College Hill neighborhood. I am pretty close to the edge. I only have 2 houses towards the end of the block, so this parking lot is gonna really separate me from the College Hill. It almost feels like I'm not even like I'm at the very edge. I kind of feel like I'm getting separated from it.
This is Captain Morgan staff, Tyler. Your
Yes.
item is item 4, it's not this item. Yours is under 4.3. Yours
Oh,
is 4.3. We have not got to that yet.
I apologize.
Okay.
My mistake.
Okay. Do we have anybody, we do have, I saw that we had the applicant, or the agent rather, was on, I saw a picture of him, so I don't know if he's, wants to make his presentation or talk. Did we have a Logan Miles, was he on the,
Logan was up, I don't,
Hello. Hello.
there he is, yeah. Sorry, we missed you there, Logan. You've got, if you'd like to make a presentation on this, you have 10 minutes.
No, I don't have any comments. We're in agreement with staff comments, so.
Yeah, okay. This one, we got a little bit confused on this one. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? Any additional questions from commissioners? If not, I would entertain them.
I move we approve item 2.1.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Green, and a second by Mr. Joe Johnson. Further questions or comments? Anything from the boardroom? Making sure, anything from Century 2?
No comment from Century 2.
And is there anybody else via another device that wishes to speak on agenda item 2.1, which is a one-step final plat located west of 95th Street South and 151st Street West? Okay, seeing none, let's call the vote.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Aye.
Gross,
Yes.
Doxler,
Yes.
Dool, Blick,
Yes.
Yes.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes.
Passes 13-0.
Passes 13-0. The next item that I see that we did not take by consent is agenda item 4.1. Is that correct?
Yes.
Staff, you and I on the same page? We
That's
are.
correct.
So, let me get that on. Okay. Kathy, are you making the presentation on that one?
Yes, I'm just being slow.
That's okay.
Kathy
I was just
Morgan,
not getting to it, so
planning
you have the floor.
Okay, this is a case that was originally heard by the Planning Commission on February 6th. The Planning Commission reheard it and approved it with a protective overlay with 3 items. Protective overlay 345, it went to City Council. There was a protest petition, over 20% protest, and the city council sent it back to the planning commission for further consideration. And one of the items that the city council asked planning staff to do was to broaden protective overlay 345 to include language from the Places for People plan. And so in your staff report, well, the memo to the staff report, the new recommendations are outlined in red. So there's a reference to garages that which should occupy no more than 50% of the ground level facade facing the street and may not project more than 5 feet in front of the main facade. B, corner lot duplexes shall place pedestrian entries on opposite street frontages. C, entrances, pedestrian scale entry shall be a prominent feature of the front elevation. D, architectural variety, developments shall achieve architectural variety by accommodating a variety of styles that are compatible or consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. E, windows and transparency. Windows and or doors facing the street are required. At least 10% of the facade must be transparent. The facade is measured from the base of the house to the start of the roof line. Roof design shall have variation in roof planes in order to break up the large roof mass through dormers, gables, or changes in elevation. Siding materials shall be appropriate to the architectural style. Traditional materials consistent with the neighborhood shall be used. HVAC units shall be located away from the front of the buildings and screened from the public. Item 3 is from the original protective overlay, minimum of 3 duplexes. Item 4, any changes to the protective overlay require approval by the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. And number 5 is new. Prior to establishing the ordinance, or prior to publishing the ordinance establishing the zone change, the applicant shall record a document with the Register of Deeds indicating that this tract includes special considerations for development on this property. The MAPC has 3 options. You may send the case back to the city council with no changes to protective overlay 345. You can recommend approval of the revised protective overlay 345 and return to city council, or you can make revisions to the proposed protective overlay and return to city council by the applicant. And you should have received a copy of the proposed changes from the applicant. And I believe the applicant is online with us, or at least listening. And Jim, could you go through the neighborhood pictures again real quick, just to remind them of what's there. So you have the aerial next. The residential, that's the comprehensive plan map. This is the site plan that was submitted with the change for the 3 duplexes on the lot. Next. This is what the protest petition map that was sent to city council, 38% protest. Next. This is looking northwest at the site, back to an existing structure that remains on the site. Looking north at the west side of the site. Looking north at the east end of the site. Looking northeast at the site. Looking along the north property line, looking east at the site. And looking east at the site along West 9th Street. Next. The neighborhood across Gow Street to the west of the site. And looking southeast at Gow and 19th at 9th, south of the site, neighborhood south of the site. And I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions from staff? Seeing none here in the council chamber, is there any questions for staff in the boardroom?
None from the boardroom.
None from the boardroom. We do have speakers, I understanding, at Century 2.
That's correct.
Do you know who's our staff person there?
This is Mary.
Hey, Mary. Do you have an idea how many speakers we have there?
Well, we have the owner, we have the agent, and 3 citizen speakers.
Okay, let's start with the agent applicant, and they will have 10 minutes.
Right here. I'm just speaking.
Okay. Kirk Miller, K. Miller Engineering. And you do have our response to the protective overlay. We're not in favor of A and B. They just don't really work well with this site for us, and they want to have as much parking as they can have to get keep vehicles from parking on the street. We agree with the last 3, and we partially agree with E, the window transparency. But with the number of garages, with the size of garages out front, there's no way we can meet what they want as far as transparency through garage doors, that type of thing. We do agree with some architectural variety where we're looking at different treatments with stone or brick or something along those lines, from one structure to the next. And we do agree to put some kind of a architectural element towards the front, whether it be something like a trellis or just something to kind of break up the look of the building a little bit. This is the 3rd time we've been here. The first time we were proposing 4 duplexes, and we agreed to go down to 3 duplexes, plus a couple other agreements. And we'd like you to approve what we are suggesting in our response to the staff protective overlay.
Okay.
I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kurt?
I just want to make sure to clarify. So under garages, you were suggesting that you propose the plan at least 2 shade trees in each lot. And then under corner
Right.
lot duplexes, you're proposing to install 5-foot sidewalks along the north side of 9th Street for the 3 platted duplex lots. Is that correct?
Right, to do those is kind of a compromise for not doing these other things they want.
Okay. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure to clarify that and have it on record.
Thank you. Any other questions from anybody in the council chambers?
I have a question.
Mr. Hartman?
Kurt, so you're objecting to items A and B, and I'm not sure exactly
Right.
why you're objecting to those?
Well, when you look at the site plan, it says the garage space should not occupy more than 50% of the ground level. Well, most new structures now have, 2-car garages out front, so there's just not that much space for anything else. So what we have shown is greater than 50% of the front is garage. And then on B, on the corner lot, it'd be tough to get, basically you'd have to rotate half the unit and make it face a different direction, 90 degrees from the rest of the unit, and that takes up a lot of space also. If you want the front door to face the same direction as the garage, that was one of the comments they made.
That answer your questions, Mr. Hartman?
Yes.
Okay, anything else? Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this item in the boardroom, any of our commissioners in there?
Yes, Mr. Duell.
May not be looking in the right place, but who is the applicant and the agent for the applicant on this?
The applicant is Jeremy Castillo and the agent is Kirk Miller.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Or for the agent, rather? Seeing none, we will go to public comment. Is there anybody at Century 2? We'll start there. Anybody at Century 2 wish to speak on this issue? If so, go to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Three speaking. Or all three still speaking, that's fine. Just speaking to here. I mean, voice directed there.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. My name is Gregory Boyachin, property owner, resident of 3325 West 9th Street North for 35 years. I am a signer of the protest positions that caused the city council to vote 6-1 vote to return this zoning case back to MAPC to take into consideration characteristics of the neighborhood. I support the city council indicating that it is appropriate to build TF3 multifamily structures on this stated lot in the original staff report. I support the 8 conditions that shall apply to the zoning case ZON 2019-59 defined by the planning department. Where subjectivity is implied within the conditions, that is architectural variety, duplicate of housing designs adjacent to each other are highly discouraged, and siding materials, traditional materials consistent with neighborhood architectural styles are encouraged, such as wood, masonry, brick, siding materials, and window trim should be consistent on all sides of the structure. These conditions need to be clarified such that all parties, city council, residents, MAPC, and applicant understand what will be built. Consideration needs to be given to landscaping. Current neighborhood landscaping has a variety of well-established trees and gardens in the frontal area lot. The lot subject to Zone 2019-59 has several established trees that most likely will be removed. Applicant and/or planning department needs to provide consideration as to what the frontal landscape to each structure will look like to support the characteristics of the neighborhood. Without such consideration, one is missing the meaning of characteristics of the neighborhood. Closing. In context, characteristics of the neighborhood is another way of indicating have respect for the neighborhood that one will build in. Acceptance of the 8 conditions and landscaping to the proposed 3 structures shows a showing of respect to the neighborhood. Thank you for your time and full attention to this subject.
Thank you, sir. If you stay there, please, for a moment, sir. Just in case we have any questions for you. Is there any questions for the speaker from the council member, chamber member, the committee members in this council chambers?
None.
Seeing none in here, is there anybody from the boardroom that wishes to ask questions of the speaker?
None.
Hearing none, thank you, yes, sir. And are there other speakers at Century 2 that would like to speak on this issue?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we have 2 more speakers.
Okay, have them introduce themselves, name and address, and they will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Robert Edgington, property owner of 1040 North Gal since 1980. I am one of the signers that protested petition that caused the city council to return this zoning case back to the MAPC to address characteristics of the neighborhood. Though I have concerns about the building of the 3 duplexes, I view the 8 conditions stated by the planning department to this zoning case as setting the standard for possible future infill for the neighborhood. These conditions stated begin in setting a good standard of respect into the existing homeowners of the properties. Landscaping is one further condition that needs to be addressed. I'm not sure why this was left out of the conditions by the planning department, but the frontal property landscaping is part of the characteristic of the neighborhood. Several current properties have at least 2 well-developed trees and garden part of their frontal area. The duplex structures need to have similar landscaping. Thank you for your time and your respect toward my position in this case. Thank you.
Mr. Acton, if you would remain there while we see if there's any questions. Any questions for the speaker? None from the council chambers. Any questions from the boardroom?
None from the boardroom.
None from the boardroom. Okay, thank you, Mr. Edgington. We have one
Thank
more.
you.
We have one more speaker there, Century 2.
That is correct. Just a moment. Speak in that direction. Okay.
My name is Angela Tiger Hudson. I am the property owner at 1023 North Cal for almost 20 years. I am a signer of the petition protests that caused the city to vote to return the zoning case back to MAPC to take into consideration the characteristics of the neighborhood. I reluctantly support the city council's decision to allow building T3 multifamily structures on a lot stated in the original report. When I walk outside and view these properties, I would like them to look as close to single-family dwellings as possible. All items on the protective overlay address this issue. Having each structure being different from the others is another way in keeping with the attitude of the neighborhood. Speaking as a longtime resident of the area, we deserve our small community and the people that enter it to take pride in their properties and respect one another. I feel that accepting all the conditions will do just that. Having the protective overlay in place keeps everyone honest and transparent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and if you would remain there just for a moment. Any questions for the speaker from council? Saying none, anybody from the boardroom?
None from the boardroom.
Okay, no questions for the speaker. Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other speakers there at Century 2 that wish to speak on this issue? I'm hearing none, so.
There are no further speakers here.
No other speaker, okay. Are there any speakers from another device that would like to speak on this issue? Telephone or video? Yes, we have one. Scott, help me with what we've got here.
Sure. We'll have to ask for their name
Okay,
and their
give us
address.
your name and address, please.
My name is Ashley, and I'm sorry I don't have a webcam, so you won't be able to see me, but hopefully everyone can hear me.
Okay.
My name is Ashley Igo, and I live at 1003 North Gow, right on the corner of 9th and Gow.
Okay, Ashley, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I approve of the protective overlay for the zoning case 2019-59. My main concern throughout this process has been about bringing responsible home ownership into this neighborhood. If these duplexes are made to look like individual homes, the occupants may have more respect and responsibility for the neighborhood. My hope eventually is that if these duplexes have a unique aesthetic, they may be offered for sale at some point and become condominiums. When I was searching for a home before purchasing this property, as a first-time home buyer, I seriously considered a condominium. My other concern throughout this process has been parking. I would hate to see 9th Street, which is a residential street, become clogged with street side parking at the intersection. When school lets out, it becomes very busy with parents driving back and forth from the school, as well as the children that walk to and from the school. The applicant addressed the garages, and I'm not sure the sizing of that and the architecture of that, but I would like it to be considered that we do not want people parking on the side of the street. And I'm sorry, it looks like my internet has cut out and I've lost the rest of my prepared comments, but I would just like to say to the applicant, this process has brought us very close together. We're a close-knit neighborhood now. And by building in this neighborhood, you're one of us now. And we would like you to consider our needs and what we would like our neighborhood to look like. We will not be shy in letting you know if there's a problem with the property, if the tenants are not being respectful. And we just ask that you would have respect for us throughout this process. We've all worked very hard to fight this, but you're now one of us, and we welcome you to the neighborhood of La Placita Park, and we ask that you just respect that. Thank you.
Ma'am, stay on the line. We'll see if there's any questions for you. Any questions for the speaker? Seeing none from the council chambers. Anybody from the boardroom have a question for the speaker?
None from the boardroom.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. You're excused. Is there anybody else from another device that would like to speak on this issue? I'm hearing none. I'll have the agent or applicant come back up, and you have 2 minutes for rebuttal. Okay, is Kirk there? Oh, go ahead.
I am the applicant.
Okay.
And the owner of the property. My name is Jerome Costello. The lady that just spoke, Angela, she welcomed me to the neighborhood. However, I've already been in the neighborhood for many years now. I actually own 7 or 8 duplexes right down the street. So I also have some single family homes that we own in the area. I grew up in the area on the west side, and I've been down this street many, many times. In fact, I long ago, used to play on this same exact house. It's been abandoned for now 10 to 13 years, and it's just mainly been an eyesore. There are other duplexes that are within blocks of this property. I have pictures of them here in the file, but within 6 blocks of these are other duplexes that were just built within the last year or two, and there was no restrictions on any of those. So I think I've gone beyond compromising, to meet the stuff I can. Unfortunately, the lot size dictates what I can put on this lot. And so I'm not able to do certain things or certain parameters that I can't meet. I can't please everybody, but I'm trying to respect everybody. And I re-engineered the entire duplex. Unfortunately, I had got this done, but it took like 3 weeks to get this done because of the virus. Things were shut down at Mill Creek, and I could not get the engineering to get redone here till yesterday. So I did redo all the roof lines, I added sidewalks, I added trees, I redid the site plan. All the stuff is different. I've added brick.
Jerome, your time has expired. Do you need 1 more minute?
Yeah, just 1 more minute, please.
Okay.
So just in closing, I do respect people's wishes. I want everybody to get along. I did talk to one of the neighbors on Tuesday. We had a conversation. I told he could approach me at any time. He can call me on my cell phone. I do take care of all my rental houses over there, duplexes. We make sure we do, take care of everybody as much as we can. I take care of everybody's concerns. So I am trying to really dress up the neighborhood. And unfortunately, there are other issues in the neighborhood. There are a lot of houses in that neighborhood that need a lot of help. And that's a whole nother story. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the speaker from Josh?
Mr. Casella, I was wondering, see, a couple of these speakers spoke about the landscaping. I wonder if you can touch on that, of what landscaping, and maybe that might ease their mind or open some suggestions or anything.
Sure. Well, what I've done, I've got a new site plan here. Unfortunately, like I said, I could not get that out in time because I had to re-engineer the house, and it took a minute to get that done. But I am to the corner. The duplexes are going to be all facing 9th. There was some misleading information in here, and one of the things that 2 duplexes were actually facing Gal that got mailed out, and so there was some conflicting information on that. But as far as the actual trees go, we're going to add shade trees to the side yard. I believe there will be 3 or 4 trees on Gal, and there will be trees facing 9th Street in each of the in front of the duplexes in each front of those. As far as the actual other landscaping, you know, I don't know what that will bring because I have to add the sidewalks and the concrete for the driveways to address the parking issues. So by adding those 2-car garages, I eliminated the problem of people parking on 9th because there will no longer be any curbsides there to park on 9th Street. So there will not be any traffic problems because we've added 2-car garages. So there will be basically 8 parking spots per building. So as far as the landscaping, I'm going to put as much as I can there based on what I have as far as the ground there in the front. But most of that will consist of, you know, putting in, you know, several larger elm trees.
Mr. Blick still has the floor, but do you have a drawing there? Could you hold it up at the camera and let us see?
I do.
Don't know how this will work, but it'll be worth a try.
You have it, Kurt? Hold on just a second. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, it's going to be hard to tell because I'm not even sure where to go, but if you can see, I've added the trees here.
Yeah, pull back right about there.
Oh, that's the one.
Okay, so the trees now are on the right side there. They're the circles there. And then I have the sidewalks there in the front, and then the trees are going to be in each one of those little, I don't know, those little circle moon things where there'll be trees right in the middle. The only thing I have to do is I have to make sure that the trees aren't too large that it's going to obstruct people from backing out and getting into a accident.
Right. Okay.
So,
thank you. Mr. Blake,
and
any
then,
other
and then
questions?
this is actually the new plan for the drawing.
Okay, pull back just a
And
little bit.
I've changed actually the entire roof line, and I've actually got it so it's actually I mean, it's going to be very nice. I mean, this whole thing is going to be costing an extra $20,000 just on top of me adding the extra trusses, and so.
Thank you. Any other questions for the speaker from the council chambers?
So you're in agreement with the changes to the PO except for items A and B?
Yeah, I believe that was correct. That was the only 2 items that I couldn't unaddress because of the, mainly because of the lot, what I could build. As far as the variety goes on the plan, it's a little hard to come up with multiple plans for duplexes. They just don't exist. Unfortunately, that's just, you know, I mean, obviously I can change them up with different paint colors, different brick. Aesthetically, I can change them to look differently, but as far as the actual plan goes, it's pretty hard when you've only got a select amount of space to build on. And I've also added windows to the front of the doors too. And only thing I wanted to do is maybe I would add glass to the garage doors, but that's probably just a problematic thing where people will be throwing rocks through the windows on 9th Street. I think that'd probably be more of a safety thing and probably not a great idea.
Okay. Any other questions from the council chamber? Seeing anybody in the boardroom?
Yes, Mr. Foster.
Mr. Foster?
Mr. Costello, I want to congratulate you on your diligence, expertise, and background on bringing this project and addressing all these issues that have come up. But I just want to look at the practicality of A and B here in the overlay. If you do a calculation, we've seen a new site drawing, but if you were to take, they had 70 foot and 76 foot. there's no way that 50% standard could be met with the garages if you do the math on it. So I think in the plan we're talking about here, that needs to be addressed because that just simply doesn't work for the duplexes. So I think their concern about the 50% is well taken. I do like the idea on the corner lot one, though, to move the entrance to the other side of the lot. However, the plan that was shown to us, the revised one, is very nice. I think they've done a good job of massaging that plan there and making it work to meet the intent of some of this. Finally, on the landscape, I really think that's important, not only to talk about the architecture and the drives and things, but the landscape creates the ultimate context for how this fits into the neighborhood. So I just want to make sure we have a condition in here that staff will review that plan and make sure that the landscape is appropriate and fits with the neighborhood.
And thank you, Mr. Foster. Any other questions from anybody in the boardroom?
None.
If not, I will bring it back to the commission for discussion or action. Mr. Dave?
Well, I was going to just simply ask that the revised site plan information, if they are able to leave that with Mary down at Century 2, we'll see that it gets in the file. I would also ask if it's possible, if they can get that to us electronically, it will be included in the packet that then goes to the city council.
Okay, thank you. Bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 4.1 and on the protective overlay, I would approve the applicant's requests as stated on item A to have the 2-car garages necessary to address the neighbors on the street parking concerns, and that he's going to add landscaping. And then on item B, that all of the entrances face 9th Street, along with the sidewalk that they proposed on 9th.
We have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Mr. Hartman? Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Green, a second by Mr. Hartman. Further discussion? Mr. Foster?
Foster.
I do have a question related to the sidewalk aspect. Given that the school is nearby and there's a lot of activity on that west side, whether a walk consideration, and perhaps some of the neighbors need to help us on that, or maybe staff would know, but I think we're leaving something out here if there needs to be a connection along Gal there on the west side. Perhaps not, but I am curious about that.
Tell you what, Mr. Foster, give me a name to direct that question to. Okay.
I think the applicant, Mr. Costello, might be able to help us on that.
Okay. Is Mr. Costello available?
He is.
Yeah, I'm
Did
I'm
you
here.
understand the comment by Mr. Foster?
Yeah, so as far as I know, there is no sidewalk on the opposite side of the street. So what he's proposing is that there have to be a sidewalk installed on the opposite side of Gal, which would be the west side. So I'm not really sure, there's no way to connect that. Yeah, there's no sidewalk to tie into Gal at all. So unfortunately, the sidewalk is going to be there, but it's really going a sidewalk to nowhere.
Would it be a dead-end walk if you were to put it on your property and go northward along Gal? Would it just dead end then and not create a connection?
That is correct.
Okay, then it's not necessary. Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments on the motion? I'm not saying any, so we have a motion and a second. Everybody understand the motion? Okay, let's roll call the vote.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Aye.
Gross,
Yes.
Dexler,
Yes.
Dool,
Mr. Dool,
Oh, yes.
thank you.
Lick. Aye. Nix. Did we
Yeah,
lose who?
no, he's, Mr. Nix.
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes.
Passes 13-0.
13. We thank you all. Next item on our agenda is 4.2. I know that we had a staff question. Is there anybody, let's go back and see what we need on this. Is there anybody on the commission want to hear this other than the staff question that Mr. Foster has got? Anybody in the boardroom want to hear this other than questions from Mr. Foster? Staff question?
No.
Okay, is there
None from
anybody?
the boardroom.
Okay, is there anybody in Century 2 that would like to hear this item? Nobody from Century 2 want to speak on agenda item 4.2, conditional use permit for home occupancy?
No, we do have the applicant here, but nobody wishes to speak.
Okay, is there anybody from another device remotely off-site that would like to speak on this issue or have this item heard? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Mr. Foster, do you have a staff question?
That's correct. If you look at condition number 3 on page 3 of the staff report, it states, "The owner of the property shall reside on the property before the home occupation may function on the site." And what I'm trying to get a sense of is we have no sense of timing on this. And my understanding of the report is that they would be waiting to build the new residence or principal structure to the back of the lot. And that I didn't pick up that they would be living in the principal structure. So with condition number 3, should there be a timetable? You know, it states that they're not going to be able to operate until like they build the new structure or they move into the current principal structure. Is that correct?
That is correct. The current principal structure on the property right now is fairly uninhabitable. I can't say that from an official perspective, but even visiting the site, it's not in really great condition at all. And their intent is to build themselves a new house behind there and live in that house once it is complete. And the whole point of it, so currently they do not reside on the site. And so the whole point of a home occupation is you do it out of your home. And if you don't live on the site, it's not considered, that would be a commercial. So that's the whole point, is they have to live on the property. And, you know, I don't know if we can specifically say you have to move in within X amount of time because you don't know how long it's going to take for the home to be built. But that's the reason that is in there, is they currently do not reside on the property. And we don't want them operating the business on the property if they're not living on the property.
Is the applicant comfortable with that condition? Have they stated they're in agreement with it?
I have spoken with him, and he can chime in here if he wants to. I think he would prefer to do his business before he moves in, knowing it will take some time to get the house built. But again, that goes beyond the idea of a home occupation. If you want a home occupation, you need to be living on the property. Yeah.
I think we should check with the applicant on that, because I frankly was a little bit confused on the timing.
Okay, sir, you're at the mic. Go
Hello?
right ahead.
Foster? You there? You got me?
Yeah, go right ahead.
My name's Rodney Heaton. I'm the owner of the property there in question. To answer your question, I am in agreement, if need be, to hold off on using the existing structure for my home occupation until we actually do build the house and occupy the house. If there's any way possible, once we break ground and are in the process of building the house, I would like to be able to start using the building in question for the home occupation sooner than later, if that's at all possible.
I'm going to ask a question of our attorneys. What kind of limits, what do we have that we can do within this as far as making requirements for living and timeframes, things like that?
Yeah, to my understanding, if he's attempting to operate a business as a home occupation, it would have to be built, and he would have to be living in there before he can start that. Otherwise, it is a commercial structure, just like Philip said. I don't know of any way to go around that rule by saying you can do it for 90 days.
No waiver possible, even if we're, say, halfway through the construction of the residence?
The way it's written, there's no option for that. It's all or nothing.
No option, okay. Well, I'm in agreement with that. I don't have a problem with that. Like I say, I would just prefer to be able to use it sooner than later, but I'll abide by whatever restrictions I have to work with.
Okay, you good, Mr. Foster?
Yeah, Mr. Foster, does that answer your question well enough?
Yes, thank you for addressing the question.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
I'd move for approval.
Miles has a
I just also want to confirm that, you know, the owner is actually residing in the property prior to operating business out of the property, because I know we've had issues in the past with people that have run businesses off of properties that they're supposed to reside there and haven't been residing. So I think we can avoid those issues by just requiring that they live prior.
I agree. I have no opposition. Like I say, not my first choice, but that's what I'm working with. That's what I'll work with.
You can live with it. Okay. Thank you, sir. While we've opened this up, we'll see if there's anybody else from the audience, anybody there at Century 2 that'd like to speak on this issue.
Nobody else here.
Okay. Is there anybody from another device, based on the conversation we've just had, want to speak on this issue? I'm hearing none, so I will take it back to the commission.
I'd move for approval.
Second.
Who made this? Motion by Mr. Joe Johnson, second by, who was over here? Well, Ms. Drexler. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Florence. Okay, he's gonna build a house to live in, and he's gonna build an additional building for a workshop, and then also convert the existing house into something to work out of. Doesn't the regulations only allow one additional house on a property? As far as a home occupation is concerned? Well, I'm looking at it, he will have two.
What he's doing is he's actually only building one additional dwelling unit. The current house on the property is the one he's going to renovate to be a workshop to work out of, and he will be building an additional house to live out of. So there will only be 2 dwelling units on the property. And then the current accessory structure on the north side is what the home occupation will be out of. And that will remain as an accessory structure and not a dwelling unit.
So short answer is that it will be in compliance. That's,
Yes.
yeah, it's, okay, it will be in compliance. Okay. Any further questions? Comments? Call the vote.
I've got a comment.
Oh, go, who's this?
This is Nix.
Mr. Nix, Hugh, go right ahead, Hugh.
I'd like to say I live near this area, and this has been, I don't want to use the word blighted, but it's somewhat blighted area for about as long as I can remember on that corner, maybe for 2-3 blocks along there. And I think somebody that's willing to come in there and build a house and open up a business would be certainly a welcome addition to this part of town. So I'd applaud the applicant for what he's trying to do.
Thank you for those comments. Anything else? If not, we'll call the vote.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Dexler,
Yes.
Dool,
Yes.
Blick,
Yes.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes.
Passes 13-0.
Okay. Okay, we have one more agenda item, 4.3, is that correct?
Yeah, well, then you'll need to recess to the
Then we'll recess
BZA
for
after that.
lunch. Oh, that will do the BZA,
Before
yes, okay. Agenda item 4.3, city conditional use permit for auxiliary parking for a doctor's office located at 3233 East Second Street.
Yes,
Kathy, you're
Kathy
making the
Morgan.
presentation. Kathy, thank you.
Planning staff. This is, on the screen, you can see the zoning map. This is in TF3 zoning. Ancillary parking is allowed in TF3 zoning. The College Hill Obstetrics is immediately across the street. They do have on-site parking there. The day that I was out there, the parking lot was full and I had to block the driveway to get out and take pictures. They are wanting, attached is a site plan and a landscape plan that was provided by the consultant, and that is Greg Ferris is the agent for this applicant. We do have Mr. Fowler is on the phone when it's time for comment, but if you will look at the staff report, the recommendations are pretty standard as to what the Planning Commission has done before. It's single-family residential, even though it's zoned, a lot of it is zoned SF or TF3, excuse me. And so staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions that the site be developed and maintained in general conformance with an approved revised site plan, and that will include some drainage information. The parking area will apply only to lot 18 and shall be surfaced with concrete or asphalt. The parking area shall be used for passenger vehicles only. Parking and circulation aisles shall not be located within a required front yard setback. As I said, the grading plan will be submitted at the time that the final site plan is submitted. Screening and landscaping will be done in accordance with the landscape ordinance. And then the caveat that if the zoning administrator finds that any of these conditions are violated, they can declare the conditional use null and void. And I would stand for any questions.
Questions for Kathy? See no questions in the council chambers. Any questions from the boardroom?
None from the boardroom.
None from the boardroom, okay. Agent or applicant? Let's see. This moment, Mr.
Greg
Fowler,
was on the line. Still there.
Is Greg Ferris online?
He was earlier.
Okay. Is there anybody at Century 2 who wants to speak on this?
Can we,
Mr. Chairman, can you not hear me?
Okay, there's Mr. Ferris, okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't know why you can't hear me, I apologize.
Okay, you have.
Can you hear me now?
We can, and you have the floor. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, my name is Greg Ferris. I represent College Hill OBGYN. They're the doctor's office immediately to the south of this parking lot request. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the landscape plan that we submitted. It's very comprehensive for a lot this size. Probably a little unusual even to have for a lot this size to have this much landscaping, but we certainly are willing to accommodate that. OBGYN is kind of a unique in this area as they try to serve this underserved area. They are trying to add another doctor. They are very limited in parking, and there's really nowhere for them to go. They attempted to purchase the vacant lot to the south. The owner was not interested in selling. They have leased some parking spaces for their employees in some other locations, but they have maximized that as well. So that puts them in a situation where they needed to look. They actually approached me about trying to do some minor street privilege to do some parking, which would be very difficult to do. And I looked at it and said, there really isn't any way to do that. And we noticed this lot was vacant. It had been vacant for a very long time. It seemed like we could accommodate some parking on this lot, and that's why they moved forward. They recently acquired this lot from the owner, and we're trying to move forward to allow the parking. The site plan, I think, is limits the use. Our goal is to have this as only employee parking. That way we can eliminate the employees parking in the existing lot and vacate those spaces for new clients. And we think that would be very positive. The OBGYN is, there's a shortage, particularly in this area. They've tried to be a great neighbor. Their property looks great, and they would keep this in the same regard as they move forward with that. So I think that's a real positive. I did speak with Mr. Fowler on the phone yesterday. Excuse me. I think he was not aware of some things. I think first and foremost, he didn't realize that the amount of landscaping that we were going to do, he mentioned some trees that are existing. Those, if you'll look at your landscape plan, are going to remain. There's certainly, it's a vacant lot. There's not going to be any additional crime based on a well-landscaped parking lot rather than a vacant lot. So we believe that that's really not much of a thing. The lack of safety we don't think is an issue because Holyoke is a street they can cross at. So we don't think that's an issue as well. His complete loss of privacy is frankly the opposite, as we will be creating an 8-foot screening fence that will abut his house and will certainly mitigate a lot of the noise that would come from 2nd Street anyway into his bedroom. So we think that's probably a positive. There won't be any loud car stereos or people talking or smoking. These are employees of the health clinic, and they don't allow their employees to smoke, and they don't allow smoking on any of their property. So again, we think that while he has a concern, I understand he's living next to a vacant lot, and I think that it's a positive to take a vacant lot, put it into use, make it well landscaped, attractive, and put it into use. Finally, I think that there certainly should not be any loss of value in his home based on the difference between a vacant lot. Kathy addressed the issue of drainage. We will be required right now, the way that lot is set up, there could be some drainage. If it rained hard, I could see how water could actually currently go into his properties. Once we complete it, there will not be any, as we are going to be required to show how that drainage will go off of any of the lateral properties or rear properties into the drainage system. So with that, be glad to answer any question. We believe that this is a very good plan, that it enhances the neighborhood in many ways over what is currently there.
Any questions for Mr. Ferris from the council chambers? Seeing none, Mr. Bleck?
Mr. Ferris, I just had a question. You mentioned it because I'm looking at the site plan and I see the The cars will be basically facing his lot, but you'll have an 8-foot wall, so none of the headlights or anything like that would be shining into his house.
That is correct. There'll be an 8-foot screening fence. It'll be a solid screening fence.
All right, thank you.
Any questions from the boardroom?
Yes.
Mr. Ferris, if you look at an aerial photo, the animal hospital to the west, I counted about 22 parking spaces there. Have they been contacted, or is that some of the least parking that is allowed?
We're leasing from the dental clinic, if you look at the aerial. The veterinary clinic is owned by the same people that own the lots to the south. They have not been responsive to us being able to do anything on their property.
Thank you. Oh, I did have one item. If you look at the landscape plan, double check how things are labeled. It's got 8 cranberry cotoneaster, and there's only 2 labeled on the drawing, and then the Guanamus bungiana, it's labeled as 2 in the plant list, but there's 8 of them labeled on the plan. I think those just labels need flip-flop.
Thank you, sir, for pointing that out. I'll address that in the final site plan.
You might think about the cranberry cotoneaster. It's okay, but not a fantastic plant for parking lot screening.
Well, certainly, if you want to give me a suggestion, I'll take the free advice from a very good landscape architect. Do you have a recommendation of a different plant?
I'm a big believer in evergreen, so something like Mordennis juniper or Tamarix juniper would be a good option.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any additional questions for Mr. Ferris? Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. We'll now go to public comment. Mr. Fowler, I've not forgotten you, but I am going to ask if there's anybody at Century 2 first, just so I stay on the same procedures the way I go through. Is there anybody at Century 2 that wishes to speak on this issue?
No, there's not.
There's none. Okay, Mr. Fowler, you've been patient all morning. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tyler Fowler. I live at 3216 East 2nd Street, so I am just next door to where they are trying to build the parking lot. And I currently want to oppose turning the residential lot into a commercial use lot. A big thing for me is my master bedroom is right. I mean, it's a very small lot, so I mean, I can't be more than 10 feet away from, or it's going to be as close as possible as allowed to where these cars are. So every morning at somewhere between, I would say 7:45 and 8, I'm going to hear car doors every single morning of people walking in and out, or going to the business. In my opinion, it doesn't really make sense because you're separating the neighborhood. I am so glad that I can be a part of the College Hill, historic neighborhood, and I'm pretty close to the end of it. 2nd Street, it ends at Hillside, which is 2 houses, and then the dental office at the end. And there is a commercial business on our block, which faces Hillside. It's not in the middle of the residential neighborhood. So you're looking at separating. That'll just be mine and one other house that's going to be left on the block and separated from the rest of the neighborhood. And I really don't like the option of that. I love that I feel like I'm a part of the College Hill neighborhood. I was unaware that property was even available. I actually contacted the previous owner, Brandon, which is on the application. And I actually asked him if he was willing to negotiate. I didn't get much of an answer back. I don't know if he was busy or what. So, I would love to keep that property or residential if possible. I did have a couple other things. I spoke with everybody within a 200-foot radius, at least all the homeowners. I have 11 petitions from the homeowners around within the 200 feet radius, according to Google Maps. And I just feel like everybody just didn't seem like that it really fit into the neighborhood. A few people were worried about the home value. Although I would say that they did a good job on, the plants and the trees and keeping that all there. but I just feel like it'd be somewhat of a loss to our historic neighborhood to take a piece away that we'll never get back. You know, it'll always be commercial from then on. And, you know, if College Hill were ever to move, I'm sure it will be relatively soon, but eventually this will always be a commercial parking lot. And it might not just be for employees at that point in time.
Mr. Fowler,
one thing,
your time has expired. Can you wrap it up in just a few minutes, or just a few seconds?
yeah, I just think that it would be a better suit to keep it residential. Another thing that I was worried about is since it's been acquired, the lot has just now been mowed after I raised concern about it. So I'm worried about people not picking up trash and things like that. And the last thing I wanted to re-say is that my house, along with a lot of the other houses, are very old. My house is 120 years old. So I don't have much insulation. So no matter what, I'm going to hear those cars. I mean, it's a small lot. They're going to be very, very close to me, whether there's a boarded fence or not. I'm going to be hearing every single car door that opens. I can hear people talking outside, and it's just going to bring a lot more traffic to next to my home.
Thank you. Any questions for the speaker? Mr. Fowler, I've got a question for you. I'm assuming that the business that is wanting to put this parking lot in has need for parking. So if they don't park there, they're going to be parking on the street. Is that going to be an issue for neighbors in the area to have that number of cars parking in the neighborhood on the street versus being located in a parking lot?
You know, from my experience of watching the parking lot, I feel like that they could do a better job of separating, spreading out their appointments to more of the evening. They almost always have spaces available in the evening. They are closed during lunch, and they're also closed on Friday evenings. As me working in retail and a lot of businesses operate, you know, we can schedule. I would imagine that it would be able to spread out appointments as far as throughout the day and work through lunch and, you know, separate lunch breaks. I know that's not convenient for everybody, but I do see that as a very possible option there.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the council chambers that has a question for the speaker? Anybody from the boardroom wish to ask Mr. Fowler a question?
None from the boardroom.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from another device or another location wish to speak on this issue?
Unmuted.
Somebody, I heard a voice, but I have no idea. Help me out here. If whoever just spoke said that you were muted, if you would speak again.
Oh, she's muted, you can't hear her.
It was not me. I don't have a question for the speaker, but I do have comments.
Okay. State your name and address for the record, please.
It's Robin Huber. I am at 3226 East 2nd. I am just a few lots up the street from Tyler.
Okay, you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. I lived in College Hill when I was a little girl, further up 2nd, and I was wanting to come back here for the good memories, come back to my home. And College Hill has changed a lot, especially down towards Hillside here. And I'm just very dismayed at all these changes, all the lots disappearing. Unfortunately, I don't have these in front of you, but I have plats printed out. I mean, there's a whole street gone behind me from commercial people just eating this up, taking these lots. And I understand that there is a lot right behind on Holyoke that is owned by that vet that it has trees on it right now. That's it. And I think if these people were trying to be good neighbors, this clinic, trying to be good neighbors and maintain the integrity of College Hill, which no one seems to care about anymore, that they could make a better effort to try to get some of this land from this vet's office, which I'm looking at an overview of it. It is definitely not being used for anything other than trees. And that would just save that lot, and it would save from another piece of our history being taken away. And I know that people would want to take that lot and utilize it. I know that Tyler had wanted to buy that lot, and he could have put parking there. You know, we have our own parking issues as residents. He has a terrible parking situation where he's at. He could have developed that, made it nice, put a garage for himself, put a garden. But now you're talking about putting 8-foot fences there. that's going to totally block out his sunlight. That's going to block out enjoyment from his yard of being able to see the surrounding houses. I really don't see that that's a viable option, and how you're going to keep patients from parking there. And then talking about crossing, the people aren't going to go to Holyoke to cross. They're not going to go to Hillside to cross. They're just going to jaywalk like they do now. And if they go to Holyoke to cross, that puts them in my yard crossing the street. And I have a brick house, and I get every piece of sound that comes off of that street. And that's going to be waking me up every morning. And that's not going to be enjoyable. It's going to be the same way for Tyler and Kelsey down there with the engines and everything going. The people don't care. The people with the businesses don't care. The people with the rentals don't care. So, and I didn't hear anything addressed for what's going to happen on the other side of that lot and on the back of that lot. If you're planting 8-foot fences all around, I mean, that just makes it even more of an eyesore. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you. If you stay right there, is there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none from the council chambers, anybody in the boardroom wish to ask a question of the speaker?
No.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else out there in the Never Land, the computer or telephone that wishes to speak on this issue?
Yes, my name is Irma Combs Lovelace. I live at 258 North Holyoke. This is directly across from the doctor's office, so I get everything. And I am opposing this ordinance in regards to the fact that I get street parking continuously. I pick up all their trash on a daily basis, along with the fact that if that area is considered and it is created for parking, I strongly figure that it's not going to serve the quote unquote people, and they are not necessarily the underserved, because there is a clinic that is right down the street at Wesley, along with the fact that it's going to increase us having vagabonds in the neighborhood, which that is already starting to occur. So as I said, I don't feel that it should be considered for opening up as a extra parking space. I just don't see that. And I agree they should make more of an effort to acquire the land from the vet. That's my final comment.
Thank you. Let me see if there are any questions for you. Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none in the council chambers, anybody at the boardroom have a question for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you. Don't know where that came from. We are continuing to see if there's anybody else that would like to speak on this issue via remotely. Is there anybody out there that would like to comment? You would have
Yes.
3 minutes. Okay, state your name and address for the record, please, and you have 3 minutes.
This is Robert Patton. I'm the owner of 3222 East 2nd Street. It is actually a rental property. I actually have I guess some questions that I should have asked to Greg Ferris there. He said that that vet lot, that they had attempted to purchase it, but had not received, I guess, any contact back. I had heard that they attempted to, they just didn't like the price. So I guess I'd like to hear more about that, because that does seem like the much better option. Also said that would not affect property values, which I don't see how that would not affect property values. Having a parking lot and an 8-foot fence out your kitchen window in this instance is definitely going to affect my A, property value, and B, ability to rent that property in the future if the current tenant decides to leave. I obviously not living there, it's not going to affect me personally on a daily basis, but my tenant and the neighbors, I'm sure, will, yes, hear car doors slamming. It looks like a nice site plan. I think they've done a good job. I don't want to hold things up for that reason. It will definitely affect me financially, and I think there's a lot of better options that they could go about trying. That's kind of all I've got.
Thank you. Any questions for the speaker? Seeing none from the council chambers, anybody from the boardroom have a question for Mr. Patton? Seeing
None from the boardroom.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else wish to speak on this issue? Speak up, we'll give you 3 minutes. Hearing none, we will let the applicant or agent come back and have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Mr. Chairman, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would like to address the lot to the south. It was told to me that that gentleman that owns that wanted to leave it as trees. He likes it that way. It wasn't a matter of price. It was a matter of simple issue that he doesn't want to sell that lot for a parking lot. He might sell it for a house or something, I don't know, but he does not want that lot to be that area to be asphalt. So it doesn't have anything to do with money or anything else. That was their first choice. They worked very hard to try to secure that lot. As far as some of the other comments, I'm not sure the lady to the east why she thinks we'll be impacting her. There's a sidewalk, and they'll cross at Holyoke. Even if they cross in the middle, that won't affect her. I did receive one call from someone who lived on Holyoke who asked if this will help with some of the street parking. We said we hope so, because that's the purpose. And she was very much in favor of it. I didn't get her name. I was just glad to hear from somebody. I think with the landscaping, if a house went there and put up an 8-foot fence, no one would say that that would affect their property values. If you drive by this, it's a 50-foot lot. There's not going to be a house built on this lot in College Hill. It's too small. Nobody is building houses this small to move into. That's just not happening. And so with that size of a lot, there really isn't much you can do with it. So just leaving it vacant doesn't seem like the highest and best use of that. There already is a business on 2nd Street. Every one of those houses faces the clinic that is on 2nd Street today, the OBGYN clinic. So it's not like you're introducing something new into the area. This is already there. And so I don't believe that we're going to impact property values. We're not going to impact traffic. We're not going to impact any of the negative things that you're to consider when you look at a conditional use. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Ferris, Mr. Green's got a question for you.
Yeah, Greg, according to your site plan, it appears that you have an 8-foot solid screening fence around the entire property. One of the members, or one of the questioners speakers was asking about that. It appears as though you do have fence all the way around that. Is that correct?
That's required by code. The screening fence does taper in the setback. That's also required by code. So in their front yard where we have landscaping, as they look out, they'll see trees and shrubbery and not the fence as it tapers down to the street, which is required by code. So we're following code for the 8-foot fence.
Thank you.
Additional questions for Mr. Ferris? Seeing now from, Mr. Blick.
Mr. Ferris, I just want to clarify, I'm trying my best. I was using Google Earth and counting the parking stalls, and maybe you can clarify. So right now existing, they have probably around 50 or 50 plus parking stalls, with the parking lot that looks like it's to the south, the west, and all around that veterinarian. And then you're looking at adding about another 12 more across the street. Is that correct?
I think it's 11. I think I have to go back and look again.
It's 12.
It's 11 or 12, correct.
Okay, that's what I was just wanting to clarify.
Additional questions from the council chamber? Anybody in the boardroom wish to ask a question, Mr. Ferris?
Yes, Mr. Foster.
Mr. Foster, you have the floor.
Mr. Ferris, in deciding to take on this property, was there discussion about the safety of the employees going back and forth across Second. I drive this route almost daily, and it is very busy. What was discussed about the safety aspect?
Well, that's the reason why they're going to post an employee-only parking, because they believe they can inform their employees as to the safety of crossing Second Street. They're already doing that to go to the to the dental clinic where they have reserved or rented some spaces. So crossing Second Street isn't new to the employees because that is employee parking up there too. They don't have clinic patrons parked there in the 6 spaces that they have leased. So I don't believe there's going to be any safety issues. These are adults, these are professionals, and they should be smart enough to look one way before they cross the street.
Anything else, Mr. Foster?
No.
Thank you. Any last questions we have for Mr. Ferris? Bring it back to the commission for action.
I'm not sure I have an option here. So one thing that I did want to point out is, I'm actually sitting here looking at my.
Here, I'm not sure who's speaking here.
Tyler Fowler.
I'm sorry, Tyler, but we closed that part of the meeting. Basically, you get 3 minutes, and I appreciate you participating, but we do have a set of rules and protocol that we must follow.
So. Wait, we don't get to ask questions back to Mr. Ferris?
No.
It's not a public forum.
Oh, sorry. That was what I stopped talking because I thought I was able to ask those questions back to him. Can I just ask 2 questions?
You can ask questions of the board, and then if we want to do something with it, we can. So if you have a question for the committee, I would take that. So you can ask us.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I would ask the current parking lots that they're leasing. Are those a long-term lease that they're going to keep, or is this to replace the lease that they currently have? Because what I've been informed is it's not a long-term lease, which makes me think that this is just to replace that lease.
Okay, and your second question?
Now I've completely forgotten what that was. Actually, it wasn't going to be a question. I was going to mention that another use for it would be that Tyler and I could definitely buy that and use it as extending our lots. So.
Anybody from the commission wish to comment on the question?
I'd like Mr. Ferris to respond to that.
Okay, Mr. Ferris, did you have a question?
The reason we don't have a long-term lease is because anytime that dental clinic doesn't want to allow us to use those spaces anymore, they can kick us out. We don't intend to leave that unless they send us off. Frankly, the 11 is a good number. It helps us a lot. But we would really like to have had 15 or 20. So we're not going to be giving up those parking spaces.
Thank you. Derek, back to the commission for action.
I also had a question for the board because when Foster was speaking, he said that they did not want a parking lot. When I spoke with the OBGYN, I spoke with a lady named MIG and MIG, I believe it was, and she said that the pricing just wasn't an option. She didn't say that they weren't able to do it. She said that the price was just too high for them whenever I spoke with MIG. So that leads me to believe that there might actually be an option to purchase that lot. It didn't seem like she was willing to, make that purchase there. And then the other thing is that, like I was saying, are we going to do anything to prevent the jaywalking? Because I'm watching my window right now, and I just seen employees leave and walking directly across the street. They didn't go to either side of any sidewalk, and I see this every single day. So I just want to make sure that, like you said, it's a busy street, and making sure that we're taking precautions to keep everybody safe.
Jaywalking is out of our purview, so I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
I have a question for staff.
Question for staff. Go ahead.
This is Renee. I was just wondering, Tyler mentioned getting petitions from 11 residents. What is the process for that? Is this a petitionable action? I mean, how does that work?
Yes, if there are interests to file a protest petition against the request, that needs to be filed with the city clerk 14 days after the conclusion of this hearing.
Okay.
So, and they'll have, there are protest forms available online or from our office, and the landowners will need to then file those with the city clerk. If they're done within the 14-day period, it will trigger special voting requirements for the city council to make the final decision on this thing.
Thank you.
But that starts after this hearing, so.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
You gonna bring it back to the board for action?
We have a question from the boardroom.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I have two questions. Number one is a staff question related to what would be the actual parking requirement. If there's 37 or 40 existing stalls and they got a certificate of occupancy, then they've met whatever parking requirement. But I certainly understand taking on a new doctor changes the dynamics there, but I'm curious, given their current situation, does their parking continue to meet the zoning, the requirement for parking spaces?
That would have to be answered by the MABCD to determine if they are in compliance with the required parking. As far as there's not been any administrative adjustments that were issued for this parcel to reduce the number of required spaces. So if they don't have enough spaces, then the occupancy needs to be looked at again, and that would either be fire department or the building department.
Second question is, I'm not seeing anything related to lighting, a condition for that, but is there something in the zoning anyway that's going to handle any issue of lighting?
The lighting would have to be no more than 15 feet tall, and it would have to be directed down onto the parking area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, what's the wish of the board?
Yeah, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman?
We've got Mr. Green.
I move that we approve the item as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Motion by Mr. Green, second by Mr. Bill Johnson. Any additional questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Aye.
Gross,
Motion.
Dexler.
Can you hold on a minute? We've got a substitute motion in the boardroom, the council boardroom.
Okay, substitute motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is a tough one here, but, you know, I've been in this neighborhood for a long time and walked it, driven it, and so forth, and I get concerned of this interjection of the parking in this area. But I do want to address another comment that was made about, would someone not want to take this lot to build housing? Well, obviously, existing houses around them are on 50-foot lots. And you've got people spending $500,000 in Denver on 50-foot lots, and I lived in one for 10 years myself. So I think there's potential for future housing. So I would make a substitute motion to disapprove the application.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Foster, a second by Mrs. Miles. Any additional question or comments on the substitute motion? Seeing none, we'll roll call vote on the substitute motion.
Warren,
No?
Green,
No.
Gross,
No.
Dexler,
Yes.
Dool,
No.
Blick,
Yes.
Nix,
No.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
No.
Joe Johnson,
No.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
No.
Florence.
Yes.
A motion fails 8-5.
Motion fails 8-5, brings us back to the original motion. Roll call for vote on the original motion, please.
Warren,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Dexler,
No.
Duel,
Yes.
Blick,
No.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
No.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Miles,
No.
Hartman,
Yes.
Clarence.
No.
Motion passes 8-5.
Motion passes 8-5. Okay. Going to recess the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and move to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
So moved.
Second.
We'll take that by consent. We have a set of minutes that need approval for February the 20th. And I did not look on that to see who was present and absent. Do we have a record of that?
I'd move for approval.
Motion approved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Hartman. Could somebody give me a list on who might have been absent for that meeting?
Mr. Foster has a question in the boardroom.
Okay, Mr. Foster?
Mr. Chairman, I did not find minutes in my packet to review.
Those are emailed.
What if we deferred that item? I'm not finding them in my packet either.
Okay, can we defer it to this afternoon? Since it was part of, just move the time? We defer the minutes to this afternoon, we'll come back to that one. We have a number of BZA issues. Agenda item number 2 is a city variance to waive landscape code requirement on property located near South Hydraulic Avenue and East 31st Street South. Believe that I want to hear that one, so we will hear the item number 2. Item number 3, city variance to permit accessory structure for a home occupation for 5 employees. Property located North Broadway and east of 17th Street North. Anybody on the board want to hear that issue?
I do.
Okay, and that was, who said that? Mr. Hartman?
Florence.
Oh, Mr. Torrance? Florence? Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Thank you. We will hear item number 3.
Item 2.
And that was number 3.
Oh, that was 3, sorry.
Agenda item number 4, city variance for a sign code permit on property located near west of George Washington Boulevard and East Pawnee. Anybody on the board want to hear that? Seeing none, is there anybody in the boardroom want to hear that?
None in the boardroom.
Okay, anybody at Century 2 wish to hear that?
None here.
And there, anybody remotely from another device wish to hear that item? We will take that by consent. Agenda item, notifies adjournment, never mind. Okay. Is there a motion on item number 4?
Move we approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Florence. Roll call the vote.
Warren,
Yes?
Green,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Dexler,
Yes.
Duel,
Yes.
Blick,
Yes.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, can we hear, agenda item number 2?
Yes, agenda item number 2 is BZA 2020-04. The applicant is requesting a waiver of the landscape street yard and parking lot screening requirement that would be required by the Wichita Landscape Ordinance. The subject property, as you see on the zoning map, is zoned LI Limited Industrial. It's generally located on the east side of South Hydraulic on 950 East 31st Street South. The site is currently undeveloped. The applicant intends to build a facility with 5 large enclosed storage areas with bathrooms. The purpose is to allow individuals to rent the areas and provide enclosed location for indoor maintenance and storage. Their intention is for primarily for vehicles. This use is permitted with the within the LI district that's governing the site. The city's landscape ordinance requires that a landscape street yard be provided for all non-residential developments, multifamily developments, and manufactured home parks, which are adjacent to arterial streets, collector streets, at-grade expressways or freeways, frontage roads, and across the street from any residential zoning. The ordinance also requires that new parking lots or additions to existing parking lots in non-residential and in multifamily developments be screened if they are adjacent to the above stated conditions as well. In the narrative provided by the applicant to planning, the applicant explains that the request for the variance arose due to the uniqueness of the property, which has an unusually large lot depth to width ratio. The site plan depicts that the lot width is the lot depth is 360 feet, and the width is 150 feet. If you calculate that using the guidebook and the landscape ordinance, that would require them to provide about 2,250 square feet of landscape street yard. The narrative also provided information regarding the partial or lack of parking lot screening on abutting and adjacent commercial industrial properties to the north and the south. Update that you'll see on the show here, we received an updated site plan 2 days ago from the agent, showing that they would be having a building constructed to the east, the furthest eastern portion of the site. The staff report was written with the original site plan, which would only show the building on the western portion of the site. So keep that in mind as I present this. The original site plan that was shown only showed the one building on the eastern portion of the site, closest to the right of way, and it'll be built within its applicable setbacks and easements. The original site plan that we received showed that the rear half of the property, the furthest to the east, was going to remain unused. So that's where staff recommendation was based off of, was the portion of the back part of the property was going to be vacant and unused. Property to the north is zone limited industrial. It's rock and stone aggregate storage and distribution for Cornejo. To the south is LI as well. It has auto repair and a car wash with self-storage. To the east is self-storage, zoned LI as well. And to the west across hydraulic is MF29 residential with single family and 2-family residences. Regarding the uniqueness of the property, the applicant states that the property has the unique conditions based on the lot to width ratio. And that's just a product because of the development in the area of other land being developed around it, and this being kind of a remnant left over. They state that the site will have a turf street yard. Staff agrees that the full requirement of landscape street yard would be unusually large given the uniqueness of the lot. However, the site plan illustrates that the east portion of the lot would have remained unused. However, the applicant has changed that and said that there's now going to be a building there. Staff feels that providing some extent of landscape street yard per the landscape ordinance is possible, as the development could have shifted east had there not been an updated site plan. Furthermore, the site plan does not show any turf street yard on the applicant's property. Keeping the right-of-way of the abutting street turf does not count as a landscape street yard. All landscaping must be within the property lines outlined as outlined in the landscape ordinance. Regarding the adjacent property, the applicant states that waiving the requirements will not adversely affect the rights of the adjacent property owners. The abutting owners have open material storage and open vehicle storage. The applicant's building will allow vehicles to be worked on in an enclosed space where owners can work on their vehicles, have a restroom, and keep their projects out of residential driveways. Regarding hardship, the applicant states that the strict application of the code will constitute an unnecessary hardship on the property owner. The amount of landscape street yard requirement makes little sense when compared to the abutting properties. They state that any landscape buffer would not be consistent with the abutting properties. They state that losing any area to landscaping drastically diminishes the value of the developable area of the property. Staff agrees that the full enforcement of the landscape street yard would be burdensome. However, the site plan that was originally submitted showed that there was undeveloped land to the east. They have now changed that. Furthermore, there is a significant space on the south side. If you can go to the site plan, Jim. There is significant space on the south side of the property along the south property line that is in excess of needed drive width or turning radii for parking that can support some level of landscaping. In addition, the presence of non-compliance on abutting properties and adjacent properties is not a basis for a waiver from the required parking lot screening required by the landscape ordinance. And I do have pictures of the surrounding properties that I'll present at the end. The applicant asserts that the variance request will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, convenience, prosperity, or harmonious development of the community. They state it will allow renters to keep their vehicles out of the respective residential neighborhoods, increasing the property values and making compliance with zoning requirements a little easier. Staff says that the waiving of all requirements of landscape ordinance in fact diminishes harmonious development. Non-conformity on abutting properties is not a basis for a waiver for required landscaping or screening that's set by the landscape ordinance. By approving a waiver of all of the requirements when the site can support some level of landscaping and screening could set a precedent for future waivers and erode the basis for harmonious development. The applicant feels that the case does not violate the spirit and intent of the code, that granting the variance will allow new development to fit in better with its surrounding. Again, staff iterates that the presence of nonconformity is not a basis for a waiver for all of the waiving of all required landscaping screening. The staff's recommendation is to deny the request to waive all of the landscape requirements. However, staff would recommend at least discussing a minimum of 50% of the parking lot of the landscaping, and that all of the parking lot screening be required based on the following conditions. The applicant would have to submit to planning a revised site plan illustrating the approved required landscape street yard and parking lot screening. The site would be approved by the planning director. The landscape street yard shall adhere to the requirements of the landscape ordinance and shall be reduced by 50%. And the parking lot screening shall adhere to the requirements of the state that are stated in the landscape ordinance. Jim, if you want to go to the pictures, we'll take a tour of what the area looks like. This is on site looking northwest. You can see some of those single family homes. Go on. This is across the street looking at the Cornejo property to the north of the subject property. They got a masonry wall there, but no landscaping. This is looking to the southeast, south of the site. You can see there's commercial properties that have very minimal landscape street or parking lot screening or street yard. You can see McDonald's has a little bit with their bushes. Does not appear that Subway really has any. This is looking directly east at the property, directly south of the subject property. It's the auto repair and the car wash. You can see there's just a few bushes there that are for parking lot screening and no landscape street yard. This is looking at the subject site itself. You can see that it's just kind of left over between Cornejo and the auto repair. And again, looking at Cornejo and along hydraulic. One more view of the auto repair. And those are the pictures. I can stand for any staff questions.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none from the council chambers, anybody in the boardroom have a question?
Mr. Foster.
Mr. Foster?
Fill up in the southwest corner of the property there on the site plan, it shows 4 circles. Do those represent those trees that are north of the auto repair shop?
It could.
The applicant is saying that it does.
It does.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, we'll go to the agent or applicant. You'll have 10 minutes. Are they at Century 2 or are they remote?
Good morning. Brian Kuhn, Cobb Valley Engineering, 200 North Emporia for the applicant. First, I'd like to discuss, the applicant recognizes that it is not part of the reason to allow a variance based on the abutting properties because they are allowed it and they're grandfathered in. However, in this case, those issues that Mr. Zumberger mentioned, those were addressing compatibility and the compatibility of a car lot for sales and they wash cars to the south with, I believe, one bush in the front. Subway has no screening and Cornejo has an 8-foot masonry fence. And as Mr. Patton said in the case just before this one, is that an 8-foot masonry fence is, quote, horrible. So it is not about, since they got to do it, we got to do it. That doesn't it. It's about compatibility and will it match the surrounding area? And there are unique conditions. One thing I do need to clarify that was, I believe, a misstatement before, is that in the original submission, there was text over where the area to the east was, and it specified the west 188 feet as being the line of where this property will have its building. So it is not, the back portion is not included and was not included on the original application, but the staff didn't recognize that those were going to be two different parcels that we could parcel out separately. They didn't catch that because just of the note. So I drew in another matching building, but that was in the original application. It was only the 188 west feet. We would like be able to park in the front if we have that front portion ever becomes a retail or another establishment, or would be within the zoning and may be able to turn it into a storefront. We'd like to keep that possibility as well. There is no harm. We're looking to the north with Cornejo's storage. You have a tanker truck that is raised up above their 8-foot fence with the name Cornejo on it, parking it there for advertising. Ours will have a green street yard. We will have the trees that you see on the south side. We can add some more trees where those trees are, but having the landscaping requirement all the way across, it would be one, not consistent or compatible with the surrounding uses. And as well, it has the unique character of being able to be turned into a retail establishment or whatever use later, making this much more flexible. And I would stand for any questions you have.
Any questions for the speaker? Not seeing any in the council chambers. Any questions in the boardroom?
None from the boardroom.
None from the boardroom. I have no questions for you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will open it up for public comment. Is there anybody at Century 2 that wishes to speak on this issue?
No, there's not.
Okay. Is there anybody from another device that would like to speak on this issue? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for action. I requested that this be heard just because it was, whenever there's a denial, I feel like the applicant has the right to make their case, so.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we grant the variance with the staff's recommended landscaped street yard be reduced by 50% and the parking lot screening is required, subject to the conditions that are listed.
I second
Okay.
that.
We have a motion and a second by Ms. Dexler. Okay. Any additional questions, comments?
Mr. Foster.
Mr. Foster?
Mr. Chairman, just points of discussion. You know, I didn't do the math on whether 50%, but I think they could reduce it, and help me out here, Philip. Did it go down to 8 square feet per frontage? Is that the recommendation? I don't know if that's 50% or something. I think they should have.
I don't have the math right in front of me either.
I think they should have that minimum, which I believe is 8 square feet figure. Someone may need to double check me on that, because I don't think 50% is that minimum relative to the.
I think it's probably greater than the minimum. 50%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I frankly think they could do the minimum. It's such a tight frontage. But my comment relates to the Google view that I looked at of the auto repair shop showed live shrubs along that frontage. And I think this is something that needs to be addressed by the entire commission or board as well as staff, is properties which become non-compliant with the landscape ordinances are not policed. I have 10 to 12 properties that I drive by every morning that have let their landscape die, or they've chopped down trees or something like that. So I think there's a broader discussion here. I don't know if I need to make a substitute motion, but perhaps the motion maker might be willing to reduce from the 50%. I think that's a little bit strong.
So you're
But in
wanting,
general, I do support the motion.
you're wanting the motion to reflect the minimum amount that's, would be required landscape-wise?
That's correct. I believe it's 8 square feet per lineal foot of frontage is
Right.
what the minimum is.
And that would be less
8
than
square feet.
50%?
And that would
Be
be
8
less
square
than,
feet of landscape street yard per foot of linear frontage along hydraulic.
okay, I guess what I would say is that we go 50% or the minimum, whichever is less.
That's a
That
mo-
works.
Sounds good.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion? Yeah.
Renee?
You second that?
I second
That
that.
amendment? Okay, we have an amended motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Warren,
Yes.
Green,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Dexler,
Yes.
Dool,
Yes.
Blick,
Yes.
Nix,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Johnson,
Aye.
Miles,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Florence.
Yes.
13-0.
Motion passes unanimously. We have one more item to hear, BZA 2020-000112. Kathy Morgan.
All right. This is a variance to allow a home occupation in a separate building. This property is located in the National Register District, the Park Place, Fairview National Register District. The lots in that district, this one happens to be 210 feet deep and let's see. What was it, 50 feet wide, 210 feet deep. And the applicant, the owner of the property is Raise My Head Foundation. They are a nonprofit that provides a 2-year program for women who are trying to turn around their lives and get training to go out into the workforce and that type of thing. And so part of what their program is they have a small manufacturing and retail business, not on-site retail. It is strictly shipping. And they want to build a separate building because the kitchen inside the house is not large enough to allow the production that they need. They have a maximum of 5 people, which is allowed by state law to be in there. Right now, they're operating at a maximum with 4. As people graduate, 2 graduate, 1 graduates, they'll take in another client. And this property is zone TF3. The building design was submitted to the Historic Preservation Board and received approval. I have had some questions about deliveries and pickups, and the Raise My Head Foundation said there would be at most 2 a week, and they could handle those either from Park Place or they could handle them through the alley. I want to mention that none of these women drive, so there won't be added parking in the neighborhood. If they should happen to go, request an increase in the number of people that would have to come back to the Planning Commission to do so. Jim, go to the site plan maybe? Is it, yeah. Okay, so they have off the alley, they have some parking area in there. As I said, they don't intend to have a lot of traffic going up and down the alley. Next, please. This is the front of the house looking northeast. You can see there's a garage back there and a shed that have been removed from the lot. Next. This is looking from the corner of the house at the back part of the lot. And as you can see, it's got fencing all around the yard on the north and south sides and also along the alley. Next. This is the disturbed ground. There is where you see that'll be a location where the building is going to be placed. Next. Looking at the house to the north of them, from where the building will be located. Next. This is looking north along the east side of Park Place. Next. So staff is recommending approval for the separate building for the Planning Commission, for the program at Raise My Head Foundation. They need to get all necessary permits for the structure, and it will be built in conformance with the approved site plan, and I will stand for any questions.
Questions for staff? Seeing none out of the council chambers, any questions from the boardroom?
Yes, Mr. Foster.
I'm curious about this structure. If, let's say they're very successful and find that they do need to move out of this location, could this be planned that it might become like an accessory dwelling structure or something? Has that been talked about?
Yes, there is. It could happen. There is, the room would be mostly open. There's some storage on the interior of the building for materials, and then a workroom. There is a restroom, and there is a kitchen sink. So it could very well accommodate an accessory dwelling unit in the future.
Thank you.
Mr. Florence, you had a question earlier on this, make sure we had it, and I do apologize to our commissioners that are with us remotely. I haven't been specifically asking. You guys need to make sure and shout out if I miss you in the process we're going through here. But Mr. Florence, do you have a question? Or
Yes,
comment?
and it just seems so out of character to the community over there. And that was my concern, whether or not this would eventually evolve into a accessory structure for residential use in the future. And, you know, using that alley as the main point of entry is, you know, I think it could be a problem.
The accessory structure, as I said, was, the architectural details were reviewed by the Historic Preservation Board, which is required by the city ordinance. And they approved the use of materials, the pitch of the roof, the location of doors and windows, and the overhead door to take in materials delivery, that type of thing. That alley is active. I don't know any other use that would be a home occupation use would have to meet the zoning code. So I don't know that we can, that at least staff can address that issue.
That answer your questions, Mr. Florence?
Well, let me ask you this: will this be the first accessory structure in this on that block in that area?
No. No, it will not. There have been pool houses and other, other types of structures built. There's not been, in my recent memory, not been an accessory dwelling unit put in that area, but it is, it is TF3, so it can be a mix of duplexes and single-family residences. I think across the street and just south, there's a fourplex apartment building that is located within the neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant available, and do they want to make a presentation?
They are available, but they don't have anything to say.
Okay, are there any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Well, Mr. Blick has a question for the applicant. Are they at Century 2?
Yes, they are.
Okay, if they could come to the microphone and podium, and we'll have a question for them.
Pat Jones, Executive Director for Raise My Head Foundation. Mr. Blick?
Yes, I just have an observation. I was looking at your site plan, and it says it's 210 feet across. When I add up all the structures all the way across from 40 to 50 with the house, it looks like 30 or 36 in between, and then 25 and 55. That comes up to 200 feet. We're about 10 feet short, so you might want to recheck that.
Happy to do that. Wichita Area Builders Association is donating their members to this project, so I'll let Wes Gallion and his group address that for us. We will do that. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Is there anybody from the audience that wishes to speak on this issue there at Century 2?
No, nobody else here.
Okay. Is there anybody by another device that wishes to speak on this issue?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, state your name and
Yes.
address. State your name and address for the record, please, and you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Sue Shamp, S-C-H-A-M as in mother, P as in Peter. I live at 1700 Park Place, which is on the corner. I've lived here 35 years, and it's been a residential area. I am, supportive of the Raise My Head Foundation. I am skeptical of having a manufacturing facility in a residential neighborhood. I think it's a precedent-setting move that could allow other people or other organizations to say, well, they make things here, we can too. And that would certainly change the whole flavor of the neighborhood. I just see that as being something that starts, something rolling downhill. There are a number of commercial properties within walking distance of the facility that I think need to be looked at rather than putting a building that has a footprint larger than my home in the backyard. I have issues with using the alley because property owners are the ones that get to pay for the maintenance of that alley if the trucks, cause damage. And there are people that live on the alley or have their bedrooms within 8 feet of the alley that really don't need that kind of traffic going down an unfinished, unmaintained alley. And I certainly have concerns about the historic tree in the backyard. We're in a historic neighborhood, and we've already lost one tree there on that property, a huge, mature, tree to this project. And really hate the thought of having a building that large for 4 people to work in, which seems pretty large to me, in a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see if there's any questions. Any questions for the speaker? Mr. Blick?
I just have a question for you. Have you noticed with this, have they been a good neighbor? Do they keep up with their yard, their landscaping and all that?
I have no complaints about that. No, I think they've been good neighbors. It's been quiet. If there would ever be any issues, I know we can call and report it, but to my knowledge, there haven't been issues with
Thank
that.
you.
I'm just concerned that it's precedent setting for other people or other organizations to ask for manufacturing facilities in their backyard. And if they have it, then why would you refuse somebody else? So.
Thank you.
Plus,
Just
I don't go to my backyard to work. So I think part of learning how to work is going to a workplace.
Let me ask some very additional questions for you from the council chambers. I don't see anybody in the boardroom want to speak, have a question for the speaker?
None from the boardroom.
None from the boardroom. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else out there from another device that would like to speak on this issue?
This is Wes Gallion. I'd like to say a few comments if I might.
Wes, you've got the floor. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to address you guys today. We were approached some time ago as our Home Builders Care, which is a 501c3 foundation, we're approached by entities from time to time to help them accomplish the mission that they are involved in with their foundation or as individuals or whatever else. And the foundation looked at this for quite a while, and we felt that it was worth our efforts to help this foundation accomplish the mission they have set. These women are people that have been human traffic victims. They're not the typical person off the street that may be looking for a hand up or a helping hand. These gals have been seen some very significant and serious things in their lives. They're in this program to try to get their feet under them, get reoriented, and get back into the workforce so they can contribute to society and make a living for themselves. I understand the concern about a manufacturing facility. This is hardly that in reality. What it really is kind of a big craft room where they can take what they're doing in the kitchen of the home they're in now over right to the building, to the back of their house. And we were the one that suggested a separate, detached structure because the house is has historic significance, and we didn't want to fool with it and make it something that people might or might not desire in the future if there comes a time when it's sold or whatever else, and that would want the house. And an accessory structure could be put to different uses. But this wouldn't in no way was intended to encourage traffic, encourage people coming by to look at anything that's done. The products that they make, I think, are soaps and perfumes and things of that nature. And it gives these gals an opportunity to do something and feel and and improve their self-image or self-worth, or they're going through this program getting reintegrated. So that's why we decided to do it. In terms of parking, we don't care if there's a lot of parking in the back. We're trying to accommodate the ability for trucks to come down the alleyway, which is a public alleyway. It's not private. And the trucks that I am talking about would be the UPS trucks or the FedEx trucks or the Postal Service trucks, small box trucks that would come and make a delivery or pick something up. And it's already been stated the women that are clients do not drive cars. So I don't see a lot really changing. We're going to use our best efforts to not interfere or mess anything up on the site. The big tree, I think, is a mulberry tree. I've talked to some people about that. We're going to stay away from that tree. We'll have an arborist look at what we're doing so that we protect the tree and the root system to the extent that you can. And the other tree that was taken down was lost because it was diseased and was dying. And that's why that tree was removed, not by us, but by the owner. So we would appreciate your support of this effort. I think it's one of those foundations that are doing really good things for people in desperate straits, and this will help them achieve their mission.
Thank you, Mr. Wes Gallion. Appreciate that. Any questions for the speaker? Thank you, Wes. Anybody from the boardroom? Seeing none. Okay, any additional speakers out there via remote device?
Yes.
Yes, state your name and address for the record, please, and you will have 2 minutes.
My name is Tim Sackett, and I live at 1720 North Park Place. Our property is immediately to the north of this property. I just want to start off by saying that we have a good relationship with the Raise My Head Foundation board. They've been good landowners there, and we've had recent conversations with the previous speaker, with Wes and with Pat about some of the things that I want to address in my comments to the board. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that we want the board to be aware of some of our concerns. In the variance rationale B as in boy, agenda packet, it states that the granting of the variance will not adversely affect neighbors. The lot is large enough to accommodate the separate building and no additional traffic will be generated. I think that the board should acknowledge in some way that the proposed building along with the parking lot may very well adversely affect neighbors. The proposed design includes the 25 by 40 square foot building, in addition to a nearly 1,800 square foot concrete parking lot, as Wes Gallion mentioned earlier. The alley traffic, while it may not be significant right now, could certainly be significant with a future owner who uses the building for a purpose different than the one it currently is. Right now, there are quite a few ruts in the alley that are created from just the traffic during times when the soil is really wet. So adding some more commercial trucks back there certainly won't help that situation. And then visually, just the idea of a nearly 1,800 square foot parking lot in this residential area is not consistent with the historic nature of the neighborhood. Another concern that we've expressed is the rainwater runoff. So with a 1,000 square foot building plus the nearly 1,800 square foot parking lot, we're going to get excessive water runoff compared to what we get today, which will increase the saturation of the alley and contribute to the ruts. Then also we have some flooding that occurs on the south side of our property.
Sir, your time has expired. Could you wrap up in like 1 more minute?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll give you 1 minute.
Just that there is runoff that will be more runoff with the proposed structure and then the 1,800 square foot parking lot. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that these items in combination with each other should be taken into consideration by the board. That's not an item in isolation, and that if possible, I guess I would urge the board to consider a delay in voting on this variance until maybe some of these items could be fully addressed, such as the size of the parking lot, the protection of the tree, and things that the other neighbor mentioned earlier.
Thank you. Stay right there if you would, please. Is there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none from the council chambers, is there anybody in the boardroom that would like to ask a question of the speaker?
Yes, Mr. Foster.
Mr. Foster?
Mr. Sackett, I am curious a little bit more. Could you address, I'm familiar with two properties along here and have noted drainage problems on both of them. And this may be a broader question, but can you think of a method to perhaps minimize the amount of parking needed for this? I mean, I frankly could see this being gravel or some other that's less permanent, because that might need to change in the future, but appreciate your thoughts on that.
I don't know if your speaker's muted.
Yeah, I
sir.
think the connection cut out just a little bit, but I think if I, you hear me okay?
Yes, I think there's just a little bit of lag.
Got a little bit of a lag, so the voice is not there with your video.
He's muted now.
Is he muted again?
Yeah. Now he's out.
Is this better if I
There
use
we
the cell
go.
phone?
There we go.
Okay, I'll do that. I think that the question, if I understood it correctly, was asking about the concrete driveway versus something that would be more water permeable. Is that the question that was asked?
Correct.
Yeah. I do think that could make a difference. I guess if there's not, I guess nearly 1,800 square feet of concrete for a parking lot that isn't intended to be used for the current residents, but is only for a couple of deliveries a week, I guess just seemed excessive and contributing again to the runoff. So if the square footage of that parking lot could be maybe significantly reduced, or like you said, something that could be not concrete that would still allow for some delivery, but not necessarily create as much runoff as 1,800 square feet of concrete would.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Is there anybody else out there by remote device that would like to speak on this issue?
Am I also allowed to make a comment?
Yes, well, I'm not sure who it is. You can state your name and address for the record.
Okay, well, this is
okay.
Sharon Sackett. I live at 1720 North Park Place. So I'm also just north of the property in question.
Go right ahead.
Okay. I was noticing on the information we were provided that the maximum occupancy for the new structure was listed as 5, but then later on it was listed as 4 residents. And so I'm curious whether it's possible somewhere down the road that an off-site supervisor could house employees at this property, but conduct business in this new structure. So that was one question. And then I was also curious whether in the future a homeowner could choose to rent that structure. Those were my 2 questions. And then I guess I would just echo that my primary concern is for conserving the residential nature, the historic nature of the neighborhood. By our estimate, the largest outbuilding belongs to the Wayne Mansion, which is also the largest house on our block. And that structure is about 800 square feet and sits at the very rear of the property. So this, by comparison, seems a little out of proportion. I'm concerned that it cuts the yard completely in half and will look oversized in proportion to the lot and to the house. As Sue mentioned, this structure would have a larger footprint than her house, also larger than our house. So it just seems too large. I'm going to have great respect for Raise My Head organization and appreciate them as neighbors. Appreciated getting to know the women there, and I support their desire to have an on-site location for their cottage industry, as long as it's inobtrusive, which this feels obtrusive. So a smaller building, a smaller parking area, if that's needed, would be more acceptable. And again, just preserving that tree there, in addition to the large tree that was cut down earlier this spring, there are also 4 fruit trees that would need to come down to accommodate this building. So it would just be sad to have all of the trees disappear from our
Excuse
neighboring
me,
yard.
your time has expired. Your
Yes,
time has
sir,
expired. I'm sorry. We will ask the agent or the applicant some of those questions. Let me see if there's anybody else that has, wishes to speak on this issue. Is there anybody else out there via remote device that wants to speak on this issue? Hearing none, if we can have the applicant there at Century 2, the last speaker had a couple of questions. This will be a part of your rebuttal time. Would you like to answer?
Pat Jones, Executive Director, Raise My Head Foundation.
Well, one of the questions
Just
had
like
to do
to
with
address-
off-site supervision. One of the questions had to
Say
do
that
with.
again, sir?
One of the questions had to do with off-site supervision. Is that something that may be in the future?
We have off-site supervision, if I'm understanding the question correctly, to the women in the house. Is that the question?
No, I'm actually thinking of in the future, if this variance passes and a new occupant comes to the property and we have this variance in place, would it be possible under this new zoning or variance for a manager, someone, to decide to conduct business on this property and have their 4 employees live at the house, but that the owner doesn't live on the property?
Let me interject. That's a staff question. Dave?
Yeah, and the answer to that is absolutely no. As a home occupation, it requires the occupants of the accessory building to be those that are living in the house. So, which would be true of anybody, anywhere that has an accessory building with a home occupation. Once it is separated from the owner, it becomes a commercial enterprise, would require actual commercial zoning, which we're not doing. We're only here on a conditional use. They have the right to build the building, including the parking now. The issue is only that in order to allow the home occupation by 5 residents, which is that's the issue of why we are going through the conditional uses to accommodate. Normally, it's home occupations are limited staffing wise, but that's what's going on here.
I got you, Dave. The other question you had, could this probably be converted to a rental property at a later date?
No, not without going through the same rezoning process.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Additional questions? Is there anybody else out there that wishes to speak on this issue by remote device? Ms. Bond, do you have any last minute comments while you're? Does the applicant have any last minute comments?
No,
Mr. Foster has a comment. Oh, sorry.
refer to the WABA and to the staff for this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll bring it back to the.
Mr. Foster has a comment.
Okay, Mr. Foster.
I do have a question for the applicant, please.
Okay.
I don't know if they can
Yeah,
hear me.
they
but
should
my
be able to hear
question-
you. Go ahead.
It's a two-part question. The question is, the 1,000 square foot for the size of the structure, is there some flexibility in that might be reduced to 850 square feet, or does your process require you need that 1,000 square foot for the footprint?
No, actually, main part of this, the center of it will be a work table, where the women can assemble the things into the containers and to get them ready to ship out. But I don't know, I defer again to Bob about that. They're the architects of the projects. It seems like we might be able to cut that down.
Then a follow-up question is in your process for the product, is there anything that would create a fire hazard?
No. None whatsoever, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Bring it back to board for action.
Motion to approve.
Yep. Motion to approve by Mr. Blick. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
A second by Mr. Hartman. Any further discussion?
Yes.
We got Mr. Foster.
No, Bill Johnson.
Oh, okay. Well, Mr. Foster first and then Bill Johnson. Mr. Foster?
I noticed in the recommendation from staff and the conditions, I don't see it addressing the issue of compatible architecture. And we're not talking extravagant here, we're getting into a lot of historical details, but I think there ought to be a condition in here that there will be an effort in the scale and the treatment of the structure and some of the materials, that it be compatible with the principal structure, especially if down the road it becomes an accessory dwelling. Then second item would be, I would really be interested twofold. Dave, what is the square foot for an accessory structure that would be allowed? Is it up to 1,000 square feet?
There's not an upper limit. It's whatever the lot size will accommodate.
Okay, well, I might suggest that be investigated to get that down to about 850 square feet, because it does really bisect the property. Then the final item is, I would make a suggestion that we look for methods to minimize the impact of parking, whether it's reducing the size. I don't think it should be concrete, frankly. I think that's putting something in there that's very permanent and is detrimental, not only drainage-wise, but aesthetically, and would limit landscape treatment. So I would make those three suggestions: compatible architecture, consider less square footage, and then minimizing the impact of the parking.
Okay. Hang on to those thoughts.
I can turn that into a motion if need be, but I want to hear what Mr. Johnson has.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, you have the floor.
I'm going to support the original motion, but I guess I want to make a comment that just because we're approving this today, we're doing it because of certain reasons. We're not just going to rubber stamp anybody that wants to do something like this. And that's what this commission's for, to look at each case on a case basis. I feel very confident with the Home Builders Association, very involved in this project. They're not going to do anything that's going to hammer the drainage, whatever. So I'm going to support the motion.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, we have a motion. Mr. Foster, are you going to do a substitute motion, or would you want to make a recommendation to amend the original motion?
I think I'll need to make a substitute motion, and that would be to add a condition that staff would review the architectural plans for compatibility with the principal structure. The second would be to investigate reducing the square footage and the needs of the foundation to reduce the square footage of the structure. And the third would be to investigate methods to minimize the impact of 1,800 square foot of concrete to fill up that back portion there. That would be my motion.
I would second it.
Would be approved.
Do we have a square footage number on the drawing that has been presented? About 1,000. Okay. Can you put a, we're gonna talk about a number, let's throw a number out there. I like 1,000 square foot. Let's just keep it to 1,000, but that's just me. Okay.
I seconded his motion.
We have a, yeah,
as
but there
stated.
wasn't a number on it. It was just to reduce.
Just reduce.
Yeah, he suggested 850.
Was that a
I
part
think
of it?
just investigating to reduce, because you want to meet the needs of the foundation. So, but if they don't need that much, then I think it'd help the neighborhood and compatibility issues.
Could you leave it then as a maximum of 1,000 square foot, but investigate reducing?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, your motion would be to a maximum of 1,000 square foot, but investigate going smaller? Is that your substitute motion? Does the second agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a substitute motion,
And, Mr. Chairman, if I may, to clarify, architectural compatibility with the house is fine.
Okay.
And I was going to raise the issue about that it should be a maximum of accessory building size, because you can't say, well, just investigate.
Right.
That's not enforceable. As far as parking surfacing, within the code, you're allowed to have gravel as opposed to concrete or asphalt. So if the desire is to specify that as an option, I would recommend do that, clarify that, and allow it to move forward rather than just investigate it. Again, that's too nebulous. It needs to be clarified what you're doing.
Mr. Foster?
Just to clarify, what I'm not recommending due to cost would be an impervious pavement condition or pavers and gravel or that kind of thing. So I would follow Dave's recommendation there and put the gravel as an option for the pavement.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, we have a substitute, have an attorney comment.
I just wanted to comment that the number one provision of Mr. Foster's motion talks about the staff looking at the compatibility of the, and I just want to recognize that Historical Preservation Board, having sit on that board, is very detailed about going through that. So at least this motion should recognize the considerations and requirements that Historical Preservation Board placed on any modifications to this.
Does the motion, as you heard it, meet that standard, or do we need to modify our motion?
I would like to say that, they can look into it, but they're going to have to defer to whatever the standards and conditions the Historical Preservation Board has already placed on this.
And we will incorporate that in as a part of the motion. Is that okay with you, Mr. Foster?
I'm very confident in the Builders Association ability to make this work, so yes.
Okay. Does the second agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Staff, are you clear on the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Blick?
Just a discussion. Wes, are you on the line still?
He may be muted, so give us time to unmute him. Okay.
Yes, I'm on the line.
Question I have for you, Wes, is basically what Mr. Foster is asking, and that's the standards of the facade. Being you the expert of the site plan and donating your time for this, and then also asking the question about the square footage, and then also the parking, with the gravel. Are these three topics with your expertise, are those doable within that site?
I think so. We're going to rely, and always have relied from the very beginning, on the advice of the Historic Preservation Board regarding compatibility of the building with the existing home. We don't intend to go back there and just build a shed that, looks like a shed. That's not our intent at all. We want to make it compatible architecturally and otherwise. As far as the size of it, that's really up to the foundation, the Raise My Head Foundation. We can make it any size they want. As far as that goes, I think 1,000 square foot is doable. I wouldn't get too much smaller than that, because when you put a bathroom in an 800 square foot building and some storage and things like that, it gets filled up pretty quickly. But that's up to you guys and what you'll support. As far as this parking goes, that proposal that all that be concrete was just put in there. That is not, we don't have any dog in the fight in terms of how much parking or how little parking you guys want to require. We are fine with gravel in there because I think it's a proven substance that will help with drainage and that sort of thing. So not a big fan of a lot of concrete if you don't need it.
Wes, I really appreciate your feedback and also your service organization. And
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Wes. I think that we've got a motion that meets all of the Ts and dots the Is. So.
Yes, sounds like.
I'm sorry, we have a comment from Mr. Dool in the boardroom.
Mr. Dool, go right
I
ahead.
think my comment was addressed by Mr. Foster in that I have total confidence in the Builders Association oversight of a lot of these details.
Thank you. Okay. With that, I think that we've got everything covered we need to. Can we roll call the vote, please?
Mr. Chairman.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This is Bill Johnson.
Yes, Bill.
I'd like to ask Mr. Foster if he would eliminate the deal about making it smaller, just leave the size so they can build what they need. I got no problem with the other two ideas he had, but I'd like to see if he'd eliminate that.
Did you hear the question, Mr. Foster?
I think that's the idea of the motion is to allow a maximum of 1,000 square feet, but verify if that's the full amount that the foundation actually needs. That would be the part of the motion.
I have a question.
I guess my comment would be, since they are looking at what they're doing, they're probably building what their needs. So I don't like to put other stuff in there that they got to go back and prove that they got to do that. So I don't like that part of that.
Okay.
I'm just following up with what the applicant said, that they may not need that much. So, you know, in the end, it comes back to compatibility with the neighborhood, and it's just an attempt to do that.
You're just a good salesman.
Mr. Joe Johnson.
Yeah, I have a question. Looking at the dimensions there, if that building is 40 feet and the lot is 50, and there's a 5-foot setback on the east side, is that right? Or, I'm sorry, the north side, then that only leaves 5 feet on the south side, which certainly moves it over a lot closer to the property line and much tighter as far as getting anything around the side of the building. And I think that's what David Foster was after, trying to not shut off one half of the lot from the other.
I think we're getting lost in the details of the.
Well, but if
motion.
that's.
I think the motion covers the things that we need to cover, so unless somebody wants to make an amendment to the motion. Is there any amendments to the motion? Call the vote.
Mr. Warren?
Aye.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Dexler?
Aye.
Mr. Dool?
Aye.
Mr. Blick?
Aye.
Mr. Nix?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Yes?
Bill Johnson?
Yes.
Joe Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Miles?
Yes? Did he say Miles?
Mr. Hartman?
Can't hear him.
Yes.
Mr. Florence?
Nay.
Passes 13-0.
No, that was, last one was a no, so 12-1.
12-1.
12-1.
Mr. Florence was no.
Who voted no?
Mr. Florence.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's the last thing I see on the agenda. We're going to close this meeting out, but I'd like everybody that's on the commission and staff to hold tight after the meeting is adjourned for a question.
Well, we're not adjourning, we're recessing.
Recessing, okay, we recess to the afternoon session, which will begin in 30 minutes.
No sooner than 30 minutes.
Okay, just, question